Welcome to Deep Dive Film School. I am Adam Sherlock.
And I'm Adam Palcher.
And if you like what you see/hear, please like and subscribe. You can find us in all the spaces and places that people what?
Find good media. That's right. Our most active channels are YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Also, I'm on Letterboxd now. It's in the comments below. Find me there. I'm super active on it, as I was through this whole Sundance season. So we'll be highlighting Sundance 2025. I'll give my favorite festival this year, and then we'll get into our tops and flops of 2024. It's always weird to do tops and flops in February, but with Sundance and being able to see everything in the theaters, I'm excited to talk about some of our favorites and non-favorites.
I was going to say, and if it's good, it spans past the year, and if it's bad, yes, spanning time. If it's bad, it also spans time. So
true.
Let's get to Sundance, though. You just wrapped this up, right?
Yeah, I saw 29 films this year.
In how many days?
It's spread over 10 days.
Okay.
But half of that's online probably, and then the other half is in person. But a lot of good stuff. Not a lot of great stuff, but there's definitely a handful of good stuff. I realized this year, Sundance used to be all about the documentary, right? And seeing documentaries you couldn't see anywhere else. But now you can fucking go on Netflix and there's like 20 documentaries about the kind of shit that you're looking for, whether it's social justice or just like a weird thing. Like one of the best ones I saw this year was called Predators, about that show To Catch a Predator. And it was an extremely challenging watch. And kind of like it had you feeling all over the place. It was a challenging watch, but it's hard to rank those because documentary formula is pretty much the same each time now, right? And
it's got to get pretty wild in order for it to kind of stick with you.
Ranking. Yeah. I think I saw like 8 documentaries and they were all pretty solid. That Predator is probably being the best one, and it was, it's just, unless you're switching it up. Like I watched a John and Yoko one that was really their story told through the media, so all the clips and interviews that they did, not necessarily talking heads or anything like that, which I enjoy when it gets things get mixed up like that. They did a similar one with Princess Diana a few years ago,
but if it's not like, if it isn't something like Tickled or Capturing the Freedmans, like, or Waltz with Bashir, where you're like, okay, this is brand new.
So but still, and I try and gravitate towards the the narrative stuff, the world competition stuff, and the new stuff. All right, my number 5 is All That's Left of You, directed by Sharon Dabis. This is just this heartbreaking, heavy generational story of this Palestinian family basically just being born. Like it kind of reminded me of To Live to some degree.
Okay.
Generations of families going through this horrible war and trying to adjust and losing people and gaining people and changing perspectives and all these things. The main Sharon Dabis, she directed the film, wrote it, and it stars in it. And this is about her and her family. So it's a very personal story. Tragic, beautiful, well done, just an amazing drama. Heavy though, obviously. A lot going on that is hard to be a Palestinian person, especially when you're just born into war. And this has been going on since basically after World War II, right? And so heavy one. It's called All That's Left of You, if I didn't say that, but All That's Left of You. Really enjoyed that one.
Seems timely,
but a well done narrative film that I hope it gets some good exposure. Okay, so my number 4, this one I was dying for a comedy.
There's some heavy movies this year.
I mean, it always is, because there's just, everyone has a spouse that died, or like someone's dying, or it's just about some heavy shit or something like that. So I was really happy when I saw this one. It's called Atropia, directed by Haley Gates. I saw somebody's Letterboxd review call it if Three Kings, it's like Three Kings meets Wet Hot American Summer.
Oh wow!
And so I wouldn't say it's as ridiculous as Wet Hot American Summer, but essentially it's about this kind of this like pseudo Middle Eastern town that they train all of these guys in. So they hire actors to be the part of the town, and they have to go through different scenarios. And so this is just out in the California, Nevada desert. And so it's California, so it's close enough to LA where there's all these actors coming out and trying to take it seriously and everything. And Ali Shawkat, who is in Arrested Development, she kind of heads everything, and she's awesome here. Just, it's darkly funny, but I was ready for something to laugh at. And so there was I really enjoyed Atropia. I think this one will do really well. All right, Jimpa. This is my number 3. This is a movie with...
It's the only one I've probably heard and read quite a bit about.
Yes, this one was my first movie, and I saw it in person, luckily. And it's hard to have a shitty movie with Olivia Colman and John Lithgow as kind of the main characters, right? And so,
plus he's buck naked through the whole thing, isn't he?
He goes full hog.
I love it.
Multiple times. I could. You spoiled my joke.
I'm so sorry.
I could finally say that I've seen John Lithgow's penis. Yes.
You've been holding your breath for that
since Third Rock from the Sun, really.
Since World According to Garb.
Anyways, this is actually an absolutely stunning, beautiful film, directed by Sophie Hyde. Sophie Hyde is actually Olivia Colman in the movie. Her real trans daughter plays the main trans character in the movie, which is their daughter. Jimpa, which is John Lithgow's character, is an old gay rights activist. He now lives in Amsterdam, so they go and visit him, and it's about them. They're obviously understanding, but I've never really seen the kind of boomer gay versus modern queer conversation happen before.
Interesting.
And in a lovingly way, but also a way where they still two generations that don't understand each other, right? Yeah. And so it was really wonderful and lovely, and an obviously personal story about her father and now her they he calls her my grand thing throughout the movie, and she calls him Jimpa,
right?
So, but it's a lovely personally written story. I thought it hit a lot of right notes, especially now I'm obviously I'm not a queer person, so maybe it doesn't hit all of the notes, maybe someone like that, but it's a great representation, I thought, of a very personal story. And those two generations clashing, that I just, it was super powerful to me.
It's when I found out that that's what the writer had kind of really focused on, I thought it was such an interesting thing, because I think that I encounter that a lot at my work, working with younger queer people, and then seeing their attitudes towards older queer people. And just like, it's still generational. Like, it's not like younger queer people go, "Oh, you fought for my rights." Like, that's not,
no,
it's a very different, like, they understand it. I think they understand the history of it, but it still is very different generationally.
And gendering now is a thing, and it wasn't back then.
Exactly. Yeah.
For the most part, but it's a very moving portrait of these people's lives, and the fact that the director and her everything's so self-involved. I hope it does well. I'm sure it will. It's fantastic. I really loved it. All right, getting on to my second favorite movie. This one, fuck yes, I love this one. Again, ready for a comedy. And this one is a dramedy, which Sundance almost invented the dramedy.
Right.
And so this one's called The Ballad of Wallace Island, directed by James Griffith, who also stars in it. Tim Key. He plays Charles. He is this man on an island, and his favorite band is these two people, played by Carey Mulligan and Tom Basden. And they are kind of a broken up duet from his past, but he's a lottery winner, and so he pays them to come to this island and put on a show, but they don't necessarily know it. But like, Tim Key plays Charles. Like, I want to hang out with him. Like, I wish he would invite me to his island.
Okay.
Like, dad jokes, everything. He has this like dramatic turn. I thought it was fully earned, but wasn't expected. Like, because it's easy to play up the comic relief in a movie, especially about a relationship movie or whatever. But it's so much more. The writing was fantastic. The music was awesome. And Tim Key's performance, like, as Charles, I hope he gets recognized for it.
What's this called again?
The Ballad of Wallace Island, Wallis. Fantastic one. I hope it does really well, but it's around music. It's around love. It was just and then it's just, yeah, I just love the sense of humor in it. It just got me. So love this one, really love this one. And my final one, my favorite one of Sundance, was Train Dreams, directed by Clint Bentley. I think I kind of flippantly talked about one of his movies in a past Sundance. It was called Jockey, and he, it's about a jockey, I think was my review.
Yeah.
It's fine. It looks really pretty. But
it's exactly what you think it's going to be.
And it's obviously about more than that, but you really got to capture a story, I think. I mean, that's really what a movie comes down to, is the performances and the story, right?
Right.
Like if you have both of those, you could have a shitty director, but if you have either one of the bad writing or bad acting, then it's gonna show, right?
Right.
Not that either of those were there, but it just wasn't as attention grabbing. This one, Train Dreams by Clint Bentley, floored me. Like, I literally think it's like the next American masterpiece. Like, it is so
Wow.
amazing. It is Joel Edgerton and Felicity Jones. And Joel Edgerton, he's one of those actors who just has those faces where he
Mhm.
can be complex just by just staring at him, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so he is just a fascinating character. It's essentially this American dream story. And it's very Malicky in some aspects of how it's told, but all the good parts of Malik, like all of
No dinosaurs.
I didn't want to bring it up.
I will always bring
I
up
know,
the
but
dinosaurs.
he can tend to linger a little too long, or whatever. And this is like everything about it. I absolutely loved. An absolutely superb piece of filmmaking. And yeah, I think when people see it, I saw it compared a lot to the assassination of Jesse James. I think it's
Oh.
it's shot in that kind of Old West style.
Is it a period? It's a period film?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't want to spoil anything that happens, but it's a beautiful story, and I was drawn in the whole time. It
And
was
quiet and meditative.
yeah,
and
just like
gorgeous
great
looking. And
drama based on a novella, powerful, complex, and an amazing performance by Edgerton. So, really happy I saw that one. But again, check me out on Letterboxd, Adam Palcher, and look me up there.
did you review all of the
every single
films?
one of them. And I'm reviewing everything I rewatch and that are new this year. So check it out there.
All right.
But yeah, it was a fun festival. I hope it stays in Utah. We got one more year to see if that happens or not. But
It's a little big for its britches up at Park City.
yeah. Positive vibes for
Good.
that because
Good.
that was my 26th year going. So crazy to think about.
That is crazy.
Shall we get on to the tops and flops of 2024?
I think we should do it. Would you like to start, or would you like
I've been
me to
talking
start?
for a while.
I was
so
going to say, why don't I go ahead and
with
start?
flop?
So, as everybody knows, you've seen more movies in the last 3 weeks than I've seen in the last 3 years, except for maybe
Well, new
including what
movies.
we have to do. Yeah, I've seen the same movies over and over again, and so usually it's hard for me to do a top 5, but I can do a bottom 5 of those I'm glad that I missed.
Yes.
There are several here that I tried watching or watched clips of, and so some of these decisions are based upon those
Okay.
choices also.
But going into this knowing you haven't fully watched these movies, and there's a reason why.
There's a damn good reason why. So, and a couple of these I've clumped several movies together because I think they fit under the same umbrellas. For number 5, we're going to go ahead and talk about a couple of remakes. These are 2 movies that I don't know if they just got made so that they can hold on to the licensing of it,
Usually.
or if they're like, well, this would be a tax write-off, so let's just go for it. One of them was Roadhouse, which I'm like, Roadhouse. Like, it's so weird also that you have somebody like Jake Gyllenhaal, who's such a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, like, if you don't remember what Roadhouse is actually about, you just remember Patrick Swayze and his mom jeans. It's actually about that a guy is what's called a cooler at this really wild Roadhouse bar, where like he's the bouncer who's going to keep everything. He's going to keep everything in check, right? And it's the Sways, and it's the dumbest idea for a movie, and it's
perfect for the 80s, though.
And it's perfect for the 80s. And there's like a small time gangster that I think is played by we'll put him up here.
It's Ben, what's his name? He's in Big Lebowski. I know exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, and he drives like a huge jacked up pickup truck. It's so dumb and hilarious. But like, why do you need to remake that with Jake Gyllenhaal and that?
It's got a built-in audience. I'm sure is what they're saying in the pitch room.
Oh, it's so stupid. Okay, so that's the first one of the remakes. The second one is the remake of The Crow, which again I was just like, and listen. Bill Skarsgård, we all know he's been in some banger movies, but I don't know if you've noticed, for every good movie he's in like 3 pieces of shit that you're like, did that come out? Like he's been in like 20 movies.
He's riding the Pennywise train.
He's been in like 20 movies and TV shows in like the last 4.5 years. It's just wild to me. And I'm like, did we really need a TikTok tattoo face rapper version of the Crow? Because that's what he is. Like, it's so embarrassing. And now, if it was that embarrassing and then it had done really well, you might just shrug and be like, yeah, I guess. I don't know. But instead,
Sure.
it
Yeah,
just,
they pulled it off.
yeah, but instead it just fits into the same box as like, oh, yeah, they did a remake of
Why?
Jacob's Ladder one time, didn't they? Oh, yeah, they did a remake of Total Recall one time, didn't they? They did a remake of RoboCop.
Yeah, they've done like 3 of Karate Kid.
Yeah, like what's the point? So anyway, those are my two is Roadhouse and The Crow, both with really great actors as the leads.
Yeah.
And it's not like they were shelved movies that they brought back out. Like they did these.
Sure. I do think there is something to the built-in audience of certain studios, I think, and just owning IP. Let's get anything we can out of this IP.
I'm
Which
just
is
surprised
sad. Hollywood has definitely lost all originality.
I'm just surprised that they got such good actors in both of those and that they weren't like, you know, Matthew McConaughey and
Sure.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre where it had been shelved for a decade or something.
They don't have originality, but they end up picking up stuff like from Sundance, right?
Yeah.
So, and that stuff ends up being effective, and they ride the coattails of that. Like,
Yep.
oh, we knew ahead of time.
And they have so much money. They're like, who cares if this does well?
Absolutely. All right, my number 5. I talked about this on the last Sundance episode, but it's one I haven't even been able to watch because it hasn't really gotten its due. So I hope people go see this movie. It's called Ghostlight. It's kind of this modern age, unexpected take on Romeo and Juliet that was absolutely amazing. Again, a wonderful dramedy that I saw at Sundance that just did not see the light of day. I hope people start seeing. I hope it starts being released, but it's absolutely fantastic. Unexpected performances by a bunch of people I've never seen before, and just an amazing, well-written story. Like, brought me to tears in multiple times, and just really well done. So love that one. Go see Ghostlight.
Ghostlight. My number 4 is another lumped together of several
two
movies
times in a row.
This is the 2024 Bloomhouse movies. We have Night Swim, Imaginary, Afraid, and Afraid with AI in the middle, like ooh, and Tarot. These PG-13 horror movies.
Oh, they're all PG-13.
With the most lukewarm scares, the most lame acting, and the worst special effects, and they're all bloodless like movies. It's all like Night Swim's about a haunted swimming pool.
Ooh. It's like Deathbed.
It's like Deathbed, the bed that eats people. It's exactly that. And like Imaginary is about a teddy bear. And these are supposed to be like scary movies. And here's the thing.
The inanimate object thing has gotten out of control.
Here's the thing, Jason Blumhouse, or whatever your name is. If I put on one of your horror movies while I'm making a piece of art, so I'm barely watching it anyway, and I end up fucking turning it off, me, who's watched every horror movie known to mankind, I turn it off because I'm like, God, this is really bad. You've made a terrible movie.
If you can't even keep me.
If you can't keep me.
And that's 4 movies.
Yeah,
too.
and I'm only partially watching it to begin with. I tried watching both Tarot and Night Swim and was like, oh my God, I got to turn these off. So anyway, thanks a bunch.
Awesome. Thanks, Mr. Bloom. All right. Yeah, I really just think Shudder is killing it, and no one else is with horror movies.
No.
Shudder, like Late Night with the Devil. Have you seen that?
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it 4 times.
It's amazing.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
there was amazing horror movies this year, but Blumhouse was not responsible for any of them.
That's unfortunate. All right. My number 4, again, a movie I talked about at Sundance last year. Don't worry, the rest of them are not. But sorry, some of these just hold up throughout the year.
Hell yeah.
And, also end up getting nominated for a lot of things. Mine is A Real Pain. The Jesse Eisenberg movie with
hearing a lot
Culkin.
Hearing about
it's absolutely fantastic. I said it back then. Culkin will get nominated. He is nominated. He won, I think, a Golden Globe already for his performance in this. It's a really, again, a dramedy, but with a lot heavier subject matter. Him and Jesse Eisenberg as cousins going to visit their grandma's home in Poland, where she lived and was taken from for many years. Mm. And so it's a very heartfelt thing, but it's also really funny and charming, but you're talking about a very heavy subject. They visit concentration camps in this movie, but you also have Kieran Culkin just being Kieran Culkin,
yeah.
And just doing his thing. And it's a really wonderful balance, a wonderfully made film. I'm really glad that he made a good film because I did not like his first film. And so yeah, A Real Pain. Go see it if you haven't. It's highly entertaining and well done.
My number three, I wandered into seeing just a section of it. Somebody else had been watching it, and so I kind of just walked in, probably 2/3 of the way through, and ended up watching about 10 minutes of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. And I had this thought while I was watching it, where I was like, if I didn't know anything about this IP, if I had zero knowledge about Ghostbusters at all,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just watching these 10 minutes, I would have no fucking clue how I was supposed to feel. I was like, is this thrilling? And I'm like, no. I'm like, is
It's like
it
an adventure comedy.
Is it scary? And I'm like, no. Was it funny? No, not really. Like, there were some quips and some one-liners that I could tell some characters are supposed to be kind of snarky or a little like prickly around the edges. But it was like, oh no, like we have to get the special amulet back from Garaka so that we can save the people of New York City from freezing to death. And I was like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like it's so
There's dumber, but yeah.
But it's like it's so cynically made to me, where it's just like, well, like, it's time to make another Ghostbusters movie. When you consider like what an original feat the original movie was, obviously we all know how brilliant that movie is. But just like catching those 10 minutes in the middle, I was like, I don't like, this isn't what the original was like. There was never a moment where the original had like action in it.
Okay, the only thing I would argue here is that think of that, but if you were 12.
Right, but the original wasn't made for 12-year-olds.
It wasn't?
No, man. I mean, I loved it too, but it wasn't made for 12-year-olds. It was made for people.
It's a PG movie.
Right, but it was made for people who've been watching Saturday Night Live. Like, it was made for like stoners, right? Like, that was what the original one was made for.
I guess maybe parts of it, but I think it's absolutely a kids movie, Ghostbusters.
Yeah, but the new one isn't. Like, it's dark, and it's like,
they're trying to make it PG back then is PG-13. I'm not necessarily fighting for this movie, but there's worse crimes out there as far as it goes. And like, having Jason Reitman be at the helm gives me a little confidence, but do they need to be made? No, we've had this discussion before.
Yeah, I just, to me, I'm like, if I think about the scene in the original where they have to take the stairs to the top, to fight Gozer.
Yeah.
And he's like, tell me when we get to 100 because I'm going to throw up. That's the culmination of an action scene in the original.
Yeah.
And this new one's like,
no, I agree. And this is
so dumb.
And the one before it was Afterlife, and that one's okay. It's kind of a restart.
It's okay.
This one is a copycat of that one, basically.
I really have a problem with the CGI ghost version of Egon. That was fucked up. Like, they should not have done that in Afterlife. I don't care. I don't care if it's a Reitman.
It was definitely interesting.
Dude, that is a bad idea. I'm like, if you might end up cursing yourself because of something you did.
I don't think it was that bad.
He's like their friend in real life, and he's dead, and they're like, we're gonna make a CGI ghost version of him in the movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was more probably taken from old footage, I'm sure, but I'm not excusing anything.
It's a bad
I wouldn't have done it either.
It's a terrible idea.
All right.
Okay.
Let's move on from Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Sorry.
And go to my number 3, which is The Brutalist. I saw this yesterday, still trying to ingest it. It is a 3.5-hour epic. And, there's some, this is filmmaking. Like, I could see why people are comparing it to like There Will Be Blood. Not only kind of the American story, the immigrant story, but also just kind of how it's made, how it makes you feel. It's a stunning feat. Like, the art direction and some of the set pieces are like, what the fuck? How did you get this made? And just like, even down to the titles and the score, just so powerful. Adrian Brody and Guy Pearce are fantastic in it. Some of the story, there's a few plot points. Like, it's not a perfect movie, I don't think. Everyone's saying it's like the best movie ever. I don't think it's that. I think it's really good. But the achievement of filmmaking here is why it's on my list, because it's so well made.
Who directed it?
Brady Corbett. He's one of the kids in Funny Games.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
really?
yeah,
Oh
he
wow.
went on to
Okay.
direct stuff, and, he's got a dark side for
Mm.
sure. It's a fascinating movie, a beautiful movie. Um, I do feel like they hit on, like, a lot of they spent 3.5 hours telling the story, and there's a lot of major plot points that seem major that just never really got addressed again.
Hmm.
And so there's some storytelling elements that I was hoping for. Like, there's no reason this couldn't have been 3 hours. Not
Right.
that I'm one to complain about a long movie necessarily or need everything spelled out to me, but it seems like, huh, why didn't you ever go back to that? Or,
Right.
certain
Yeah.
things. And, you're trying to span somebody's life. So I get that's kind of a, you got to pick and choose your battles or whatever. And in the grand scheme of everything, it makes sense and it's part of the story or whatever. But I just seemed like some missed opportunity, but still wonderful movie. Absolutely worth seeing. You will love it.
Awesome. I can't wait to check it out. It looks really fascinating.
Yeah, and people hear brutalist. My wife thought this. She's like, I thought this was going to be more brutal. I'm like, no, that's the kind of
The
building,
type of architecture.
the kind of buildings that he's creating. It's not really brutal. She's like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
it's the big blocky, which brutalist architecture is one of my favorite kinds of
Then
architecture.
you'll
Like
love this.
I fall.
And it's a fascinating story. Guy Pearce, holy fuck, dude.
My number two, I've this one I took personally because I love the graphic novel that this was based upon. Richard Maguire, first in the late '80s and then again in 2014. Revisited this particular comic style that he had done called and the book was called Here. Um,
Oh, okay.
Robert Zemeckis decided to get his grubby hands on this thing. The graphic novel was so fascinating because it owned nonlinear storytelling as the basis was the way that it's done. Like this is an image from the graphic novel. As you can see, there's the box, and we're inside of a static room, but then there's smaller boxes inside of it that are also parts of that room, but we're jumping back and forth between time. Speaking of dinosaurs, we go all the way back to like molten lava era of this same living room, hundreds of millions of years in the past in
Yeah,
certain
yeah.
moments. But the
It's like a ghost story, but
yes, but it's all happening in frame at the same
yeah, no.
time, right?
Yes, I know
Uh,
that. I know what you're
um,
getting at.
what makes it so interesting is that it ends up having deeply meaningful spots, but they're based upon luck, right? So we will see one character uh saying one thing, and we see the words being said in one timeline,
Seems like it'd be a cool idea for a movie.
and then glimpses from other times that might give those words that are being said here meaning in that other one. It's perfect for a graphic novel, right? Because you're like, oh, you just have the one box with different boxes inside of it. But Zemeckis used it as another excuse to turn Tom Hanks' face into silly putty. I don't know why he has such a hard on about that, especially with Tom Hanks. He loves it. He's like, let's make you into Santa. Like he just like cannot get enough
It's true.
of messing up. He must have months worth of footage of Tom Hanks' face with those little green dots on it. Like, right, just from every possible angle.
Oh yeah.
And
for
again,
sure.
just like when we did Marwen, Welcome to Marwen, it's like he missed the point of the thing that made him want to tell the story, right? And
Yeah.
instead used it as an excuse to be like, let's de-age all these actors. And it's so distracting. It's so endlessly distracting.
I haven't watched it.
And when I watched the trailer,
I'm curious though, I have to say.
when I watched the trailer, it actually made me, well, two things happened. A, I thought that Zemeckis or whoever, whatever producer had stolen the idea from Maguire. That was the first thing, because I was like, well, this isn't that, but it is that, but it isn't. And so at first I was angry for that reason. Then when I found out this is the film adaptation of that, I got even more angry because just from the trailer I could tell that he missed the point. Right? Just from the trailer, I was like, "Oh, you missed the point. You missed the vagueness of the surreal concept, right? That
kind of puzzle it together.
yeah, like you think about in what is it, Room 213, that sort of faux documentary about The Shining. They do a version of The Shining at a theater where they played it from the back to the beginning and then linearly, and they superimpose them on top of each other. And there are all these moments where it weirdly linked up, right? Where it's like one image just randomly linked up with the other, and you could surreptitiously draw meaning from it, even though it was a complete random juxtaposition.
It's like book you're putting together.
Yeah, you're like, oh wow, that was a total coincidence, but it has meaning to it now. That's like the whole point of Maguire's thing. Yes and
Again,
no,
it
but
seems like a good idea, but it just execution. If you're missing the point, then I guess not.
if you focus the whole time on making Tom Hanks' silly putty face make him look like he's in Splash again, then yeah, you did. And it seems like that's what they spent all their time doing.
It's
Is
CGI,
just
though. Is it makeup or is it
it's
CGI?
all CGI. Oh God, yeah, no, it's super distracting. It's like the upper lip on Superman when they had to do those reshoots for the Snyder movie.
All right. Yeah, I haven't seen it, so but I have been curious just to see, because I've heard not good things, but I still kind of want to see it.
I mean, I feel like it's the exact same thing that we've talked about Zemeckis before so many times, which
Sure.
is just that when it works, he can do amazing stuff with technology to help along storytelling. And then when it doesn't work, it just turns into this like car wreck.
Yeah, and it's not the 80s anymore. Everyone has technology now, so.
Yeah.
All right, my number 2 film of 2024 was the Latvian animated movie Flow. Have you ever heard of this movie?
No.
It is a absolutely stunning, wonderful animated movie. Gave me Miyazaki vibes. Different, but like it gave me the same effect of watching Miyazaki the first time. It has this very like strange character animation where things are kind of fuzzy around the edges. It kind of looks real. This is fully dialogueless movie. Through the eyes of a cat, kind of his world around him and the other animals and friends he meets along the way. I would watch this fucking movie 5 times before I watch another talking animal movie. This movie had me so gripped. It's so well done. The world is flooding as, through the eyes, so she has to escape somewhere. And, it goes through so many different waves and different things, and it's the ultimate show don't tell, which I love. If on paper this sounds like I would hate this movie, but it floored me. And there's truly shots in it that I've never seen before. Like you look at that, you're like, I've never seen anything like that before.
Wow. It's called Flow.
Flow. Highly recommend this. I'm pretty sure it got nominated for Best Foreign Film and Best Animated Film. So
wow.
Check it out. It is absolutely stunning. It is art, so you have to be patient with it and let the world come. But like, I was washed away in this movie. I couldn't believe how well done it was without saying anything, but saying so much. And, in a time where it does feel like the world is imploding, it felt very relevant and just like you related to these animals, which we are.
That's awesome.
So
wow.
Loved Flow. Please check it out. Again, another movie I feel like just hasn't got a ton of play.
Yeah. My number 1, glad I missed. They keep doing this, and it's so embarrassing to me. And I get that, again, it's just muscling out any amount of dollars from an IP, but it sure doesn't seem like it's working. My number 1 is the latest in the attempt to make money with the leftover characters that Sony still owns from Spider-Man. This is Madam Web. And there's even like a guy who looks like Spider-Man in this one. Like he's black and gray, but otherwise it's basically Spider-Man suit. But it doesn't have anything to do with it because they're not allowed to mention Spider-Man because he's no longer part of the property, right? Mm-hmm. But they've done the Venom. They've done multiple Venom movies.
3 now. Oh my God, they're all terrible.
The Morbius movie.
Yeah.
And coming up next after Madam Web is Kraven the Hunter, which is another villain from Spider-Man.
Down? There's no one who's giving these people money.
So here's my hypothetical. You and I own the studio. We own 20th Century Fox or whoever the fuck it is that owns like Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
And Harry Potter gets
Warner Brothers. Yeah.
Okay, Warner Brothers. We're at Warner Brothers, and Harry Potter gets wrestled out of our producer hands. Everybody except for Dolores Umbridge and one of the Weasley brothers. And we're like, can we, without mentioning Hogwarts or Harry Potter or any of the lore, tell like an origin story about Dolores Umbridge, and would anyone watch it?
You mean Black Widow? I mean Madam Web.
This is the thing, right? Like that's what it's like. I'm like, it's so, again, I hate to use the word cynical, but I can't think of another word where they're just like, I don't fucking know.
Riding the coattails.
Yeah, maybe it's got Dakota Johnson in it. Maybe somebody will watch it.
Yeah,
and of course
she was in 50 Shades of Grey.
Right.
Be good.
Of course, we did get the famous line out of Madame Web, which was, I know him. He was with my mother when she was, I know him. He was with my mother when she died unexpectedly while she was studying spiders in the Amazon, I believe is the line from the movie.
Exposition there.
Yeah. It's just so, I can't believe that they're doing another one. I can't believe that they're doing Craven with like another great Aaron Taylor Johnson. That guy's a great actor.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
It's not good.
Just squeeze the blood out of that rock.
Yeah. Them and Mr. Bloom need to have a meeting. And then that building needs to blow up.
100%. 100%.
I'm glad I only saw one of your glad I missed.
Which one was it?
Ghostbusters.
Oh, okay, that's right. You did. Of course you saw it. Yeah, of course you saw it.
Yeah. I mean, I have kids.
Your son, I'm sure your son loved it.
Oh, he did.
And you know what? And if I had watched it with Caden, I would probably love it too.
It's true.
I have no doubt about that.
All right, this one is definitely the opposite of the rest of these. It didn't get a lot of play. This is my favorite movie of the year. It's Dune 2, Denis Dune 2. Mm-hmm. I mean, can you think of a better movie you saw this year? I think it's the best sequel since Two Towers, probably.
I could see that, yeah, where it doesn't even feel, I mean, it just feels like there was an intermission and then you got the second half.
Exactly, and as obviously knowing the story, knowing where it's going, but when he rides the Shai Hulud the first time, I like got fucking chills.
Yeah.
And it's so craftily made, like he does every little detail. He shows you Dune how Dune should be shown. No offense, David Lynch. I love your Dune as well.
It does a lot of things right that one didn't.
Yes. If you're gonna update and remake something, you've been talking about a lot of remakes, right?
Yep.
This is how you do it.
I appreciate so much how much in both the first and second, but definitely in the second one, he focuses on the Lady Jessica storyline, because I think that's a huge storyline in the book that didn't get as much play in the Lynch one, because she's so powerful and she's such an interesting.
Yeah, Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah,
amazing.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But just like that character's transformation is so
everyone.
Great. Yeah,
everyone. Stellan Skarsgård. I like.
Oh yeah.
It's good. It's a good time to be a Skarsgård.
It's a damn fine time to be a Skarsgård. Even if you're like, oh yeah, the worst movie I did this year was The Crow. You're like, I also did Nosferatu. I'm doing okay. Yeah.
But I mean, I think Denis in the conversation for one of our generational directors, and he continues to prove it with everything he does. I mean, look at his catalog. It's
the Blade Runner movie shouldn't have worked.
Staggering.
It shouldn't have worked at all.
Can he just remake everything? Can he just wait 5 years for every movie now?
A Dune remake shouldn't have worked at all either.
But no, it's a stunning movie. It's stuck with. I watched it like 3 times this year. Like it's every time I'm just like a little kid, and I know it's like Star Wars for adults, but like I get fucking wrapped up in it. Yeah. And it's so well made, more than any George Lucas movie.
Well, that's not saying.
Well,
I don't know. Have you seen Red Tails? It's pretty good.
I'm just saying, he has a reputation.
Yeah, it's a fantastic
all right
number one.
Thank you very much for listening to the Sundance 2025 recap and our tops and flops of 2024. Please join us next week. We're going to continue our movies about movies festival with Federico Fellini's 8.5, and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and my letterbox at Adam Palcher, and we'll see you then.
Bye, you guys.